What's up, besties? I hope you're having a spectacular day. Excuse the noises. My roommates are usually quiet except for when I'm recording, apparently. And yeah, this isn't the project I wanted to make, but I can't get enough fabric for what I do want to make, so I put that one on hold. I decided to just do this flowery headdress, and yeah, I know it's kind of like out of moment to make flowery things right now because everything is like so Christmassy already. But I did do it on Saint Andrew's Eve, which in Poland is like this type of celebration where we traditionally do like some fortune telling and other magic thingies. So I guess it kind of suits these like witchy vibes. I couldn't like go spend this time like traditionally, and I began from taking a wire hairband and making it shorter by like bending the wires. I initially tried to just do this with my fingers because the wires are quite thin, so I thought I could do it, but later on I ended up using pliers. I know these pliers look very nasty. They are just covered in rust, but these are not these are my dad's. And yeah, this was already quite a pretty hairband, but the little like ends that go like behind your ears were getting stuck in my hair because there's like a metal piece that I don't know how it was getting stuck in my hair, but every time I was taking it off, I was like pulling out my hair and it was painful, and so I just didn't wear it anyway. And in order to prevent that now, I use like these electric tape or insulating tape. I don't know how it's called in English, I'm very not sure. On the tips of it. And I think that's the best type of tape for this task because like this regular office tape that you would usually use is not stretching anyway, so it wouldn't just like wrap around neatly. And yeah, and here you can see me just testing that out, whether it fits, like just putting it on my head to make sure it's right so that I can go to the next step. As for the next step, I reused flowers from an old flower crown. Basically, my dad made these like flower crowns for us from wire and just regular fake plants that you can like buy. And it's cool because these flowers are detachable, so I could just pull them off. But if I want to have that flower crown and use it again, I can just put different flowers on. And these flowers were pretty like crusty and damaged themselves. Like you can't really see it well on camera, but they were all like the ends of the petals and the leaves were all very damaged. So because I used it a lot and it was like put in a drawer where it wasn't like neatly protected from all my other stuff. So yeah, but I can't just buy new flowers and put them on there, and it will be very easy for me. And I just took acrylic paint and was painting the flowers, and the acrylic paint kind of glued the like ends of the petals together, so they're neater. And I didn't really put it like perfectly to make everything just pitch black. I wanted some of that like pink and purple and a bit of blue and even green from the leaves to like pop out here and there. But basically, I just painted a bunch of flowers from that flower crown to fit on my headband. And also like some leaves and just some singular petals to maybe put them in as well. Another alternative to like fake plastic flowers would also be making your own flowers. I can make that. There are tutorials online if you want to like look at them. I did actually make my own flowers for different projects. The issue is my flowers are pretty heavy compared to these ones because these are quite stiff, so they hold their shape by just being molded a certain way, and mine hold their shape by just having more petals in them. And the thing about this headdress, as you saw, is that it stays like on the back of your head, and it doesn't really have anything to like pull to like hold this type of weight on it. So I tried making it as light as possible. um if I put bobby pins in it, or if I like have it like stabbed into some hairstyle, like a braid or two braids for example, it would probably be fine. But I wanted it to just be able to just put it on and it stays, so I made it as light as possible. And I did have flowers and I did have acrylic paint, so why not go with the easy way and not make my own flowers. I wanted to actually add more stuff in there, but it turned out that the amount of space I had was actually pretty limited, so I didn't end up using anything. Like I wanted to add additional plants that I didn't paint because I thought they can like stay white, because I had like little white paint plants, and I had these like small white butterflies that I wanted to add as well. But I just couldn't fit them and anywhere later on, so I ended up just not using them. But these were also ideas that I think are fine. And if I have left myself more space for them, I could have used them. I waited a whole night for them to dry because it just took forever, and I just went to sleep. And yeah, I just grabbed my hot glue gun, and as in any good DIY, I was just gluing them together by like putting the glue behind the flower and then the flower on the headband. One thing that I had to do was like cut out like some of the backing of the flower because it was just too long. And I figured the best method to do it is to just put like a dot of glue like on the back of the flower, then like while still having the flower like the back up, grabbing the headband and putting the headband on the flower like in the glue, and then with my fingers, once the glue wasn't like super hot but still like moldable, just wrap the glue around the wire so it stays in place like that. And yeah, that worked pretty well for me. One thing I regret is that I only painted one of the like smaller flowers. I don't know. I didn't really think about the size of the flowers while painting them. I focused on the shape. So I ended up grabbing one of the flowers, like bigger flowers that I made, like a poppy, and just cutting it down so that it also fits, because I just put one smaller flower on one end and one on the other end. And I also took a bunch of like loose petals and leaves, because these flowers are very easy to just take apart, and glued them on the back to both be a bit of like a background for the whole thing, but also so that there isn't hot glue actually touching my head while I'm wearing it, because why would I want that? And also it just made like the flowers stay in place better, because once the hot glue was cooled down, they could like move around. But once I put the extra glue, it was all better secured, and yeah, it stayed like this pretty well. This step is like completely optional, but I wanted to customize my own ribbons for this. And first, you can see me like using rubber to make a stamp. You can buy these sorts of rubbers online. I saw there are kits for this even on Amazon, or like in different shops. It's just a stamp making kit. And Yeah, I just bought something that looks similar from Tiger, although that one isn't for stamps. That one is for making like a full illustration because it's like big, but we'll see. Maybe I'll show using it in the future. I didn't end up using this skull, and it's so tiny because that's like all the rubber I had left when I was making it. I was just trying to show like what we're working with, and yeah, I ended up using my like actual full size ones. I have three ones that are like a feather leaf because that's like the easiest thing for me, and I just used scraps to make them earlier on. And as you can see, first I tested out on paper whether this even works, like if I can use it like this, because with stamps you usually use just like the little pad with ink, but here I wanted to use paint, so I wanted to check whether the shapes will be clear enough, and not just like big blobs of paint. And yeah, I use textile paint because I did try using acrylic paint before, and it was too thick. You could use acrylic paint if you had just thinner one than I do. But I just like my acrylic paint to be pretty thick when it comes to painting, so that's the type of acrylic paint I usually buy. But I did have like thinner acrylic paint in the past, and I think the thinner ones would work better. So if you have that, you can try it. And I just stamped it on to the ribbons. Uh, I used white textile paint on black ribbons, and also black textile paint on purple ribbon. So I had like matching black and purple ribbons with the same type of pattern. And when it comes to the moth one, because I'm so dumb, I wanted to do like one moth that is like to the left, one to the right, one to the left, one to the right, because I couldn't buy because I couldn't get a ribbon that would be like thick enough to fit it normally, but also uh, not extremely thick because yeah. And I ended up making a mistake, so it's like one to the left, two to the right, one to the left, two to the right, because yeah, I made that mistake and I was able to change the pattern, but it's kind of dumb. uh, I was more focused on making it even, and I just forgot to also like turn it around, and I don't know what was in my brain. Like, this is so easy, like left, right. Like, it shouldn't be difficult. Why did I make this mistake? Um, that was so frustrating to notice, like a second after it was too late. But yeah, in the end, it's not that visible because it's like sideways. But yeah, I think the effect is really cool. I just hung them up to dry, and yeah, I have my own custom ribbons. Yay! Now, on the packaging of the textile paint, like there was an instruction, and it's set to iron after it's dry. And I did that like last time I was using it on regular fabric. Um, and this is why I think acrylic paint will be good enough, because turns out you can't iron this. And I learned the hard way because I just You can see that I use the towel to protect my desk, and also parchment paper so that nothing sticks, like the heat didn't direct. And at the beginning, everything seemed fine, but then the ribbon just melted. So yeah, you can't iron it. Don't even bother trying. And the last step was just sewing the ribbons to the whole hairdress, and I just used the black thread and sewed them to the like petals that I glued to the back to be the backing. And yeah, I ended up still using the damaged half melted ribbon because it was melted like in half, so I ended up just trimming it a little bit and like trying to hide the fact that it's damaged. And I was using all of the ribbons like folded in half anyway because I didn't want like loose end at the top. I just wanted them like all the ends to be flowing nicely at the bottom, so all of the ribbons were folded in half anyway, so I just trimmed it a little bit. And since it was melted, it didn't leave like any threads poking out from the side when I trimmed it because it was melted. So yeah, I think when it comes to like the final piece, it's not visible whatsoever unless you look from the inside, which you don't. You look from the outside. The inside is sticking to my head. So yeah, I think it's alright at the end. Mm, don't try to iron ribbons, like for the future. And also, I before that I didn't even really think about using like textile paint with my stamps, and now I want to use them for more projects. As I said, I bought a whole thing for like making a bigger piece from Flying Tiger on sale also. So that was cool. If you have a flying tiger, you can go check whether they have that, and perhaps I could just use that on something bigger, and perhaps I can just use that on something bigger, like maybe decorate a whole t-shirt or a bag. So or with the stamps I could just stamp something on like a pair of jeans. Like the possibilities are endless. So yeah, and this was a very satisfying project. It was pretty quick also, so that's nice. And um, it took me only like an hour and a half, like in total, like without counting the time when the paint was drying or stuff like that. And here it is. I'm not using any bobby pins here. It stays pretty well. It would probably stay much better if I had like bobby pins in there, or if I like stabbed it into some hairstyle that will just make it stay. Like if I had a braid or two braids or some type of bun or a ponytail, anything other than just loose flowing hair. Don't ask why I recorded it like this. I had no choice. My phone didn't want to stay in place in any other position. As you can see, I'm like shaking it, I'm moving my hair around, and it stays pretty well. I made this mainly like for photos and stuff like that, not really to like wear for longer periods of time. But it does stay on my head. And yeah, I hope you like this video or that you can have any use out of it. I would love it if you left your opinion or some advice or ideas for like future, mm, or maybe what I could do better, or anything in the comment section down below. And for now, just stay safe, stay hydrated, and peace.